Energy's weird today. We'll just roll with it. Wait, should I intro the podcast? Did I do that?
No, you haven't done it yet. You can do it whenever. It doesn't matter. We can just...
Welcome back to another episode of the Long Lost Podcast with these two dolls. What's your name? Say your name first.
Hi, it's me, Lana.
And it's me, Lyra. Pia, pia. Do we still do air horns? Is that a thing?
I think it's more a thing now than it ever was before, actually.
Oh, yes.
Just because it's not a thing anymore, which makes it good.
It's like wrapping back around.
Oh god, it's very hipstery, isn't it? Oh.
Oh no, time is a flat circle. How's it going? What's your life?
What is my life since the last record? Nothing, I don't think.
Nice.
Nope. I'm thinking back on it. That was a week ago. And since then, nothing. I watched Good Will Hunting, and I wanted to talk to you about it, but you haven't seen it, so I can't talk to you about it.
That's true, I have not.
So maybe in a future pre-episode discussion, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I've watched like a bunch of movies, but none of them were Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, fair. How about you?
Well, it's warm, and that improves my mood drastically. I can wear cute clothes.
Do you have any sort of, like, seasonal affective disorder or whatever, do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Really bad. Yeah.
It's interesting. I think it varies the degree to which I have it, but I did notice, like, a few years ago that, like, oh, hey, the winter, I felt bad, and then the summer came and it got hot, and I felt good. Huh.
For sure.
But
I mean, you're in fucking... so it should be, like, warm every day.
That's true. I'm in... Yeah, it's... The variance is not a lot.
Yeah.
Hi.
What's up?
Let's do the thing where we talk about episode 9, Solitary.
Nope. Season 1, episode 10.
No, we did not record an episode on Solitary, did we? I have no memory of that.
What? Yeah, we did. Solitary was about Saeed. What are you talking about?
I was pretty fucked up.
That is true. You were pretty sloshed at the end of that recording.
It's okay. I've got a wine glass here now full of coffee.
Are you drinking coffee out of a wine glass?
Yeah, I realized that I think it's fun to drink things out of wine glasses.
So are you holding the stem so that you don't burn your hands?
It's cold coffee. I only drink iced vanilla lattes.
Oh.
That's the only coffee I drink, is an iced vanilla latte.
Oh, where from?
I don't know. I got it in a bottle from a store.
Oh. It's amazing how quickly working at a coffee shop turns you into a fucking coffee snob.
I just want my candy coffee. Also, God, apparently
I get
I'm
it,
dying. Yeah. Why am I dying? Fuck.
The candy coffee is having its revenge.
Yeah, I don't actually like coffee.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh God, my cat's puking, I think. Hey, don't puke, please. And if you do, go into a tiled area. Just a second. Hey, buddy, do you want to go in the bathroom?
This recording is going well.
Oh, okay. I think we averted the puke.
Good job. Crisis handled.
What were you saying?
This week, Season 1, Episode 10, Raised by Another. Okay, what were your overall thoughts and feelings on this one?
My overall thought and feeling was that I was bored out of my mind.
That's crazy. I thought this episode was great.
Oh, this'll be interesting.
Let's do it. Here we go. Okay, so the recap, I'm trying to make the recaps shorter, and we'll, talk about specific scenes in detail as we do the fucking, whatever. You get it. Do you get it?
I get it.
Great. All right. We open into a horrifying nightmare where Claire finds herself searching for her baby. She's, not pregnant in her dream. A freaky version of Locke shows up, and the whole dream culminates in a crib full of blood. Everyone at the caves wakes up to her screaming and tries to comfort her. The next night, she wakes up screaming again, saying that a man was looming over her with a syringe and a knife. This time, she claims that what happened was real. Throughout the episode, Jack takes the position of a rational doctor, telling her that it's anxiety causing stress dreams and she needs to chill out so she doesn't go into labor early. Charlie takes the opposite stance, totally believing her and trying to offer emotional support. However, Claire keeps him at a distance, seemingly unwilling to trust. We see through flashbacks that this was probably due to her baby's daddy. Though he pressured her into keeping the baby, he abandoned her a mere 3 months later. The baby was an accident, also. Claire nearly puts the baby up for adoption, but a psychic, who seems to know things he shouldn't, gives her a dire warning that she has to raise the child herself. Alright, back in the present. Hurley goes about getting all the survivors' names and talks to them in an effort to maybe figure out who freaked Claire out. He also manages to get the flight manifest from Sawyer so he can cross-check the two lists. Claire and Charlie are in the jungle, and she starts having contractions. Charlie tells Ethan, remember him? Random weird guy from a few episodes ago, like he was in the golf one. Maybe that was the last episode. I don't really remember. To fetch Jack, while Charlie stays with Claire. She confides in Charlie that the reason she was on the flight was that the psychic claimed that there was a couple in LA who could raise the baby without mysterious dire consequences happening. Through this recounting, they both realize that this was a lie. The psychic put Claire on the flight knowing it would crash, and that would force her to raise the child. Back at the caves, Saeed returns, dehydrated and panicked, and tells Jack, we're not alone. At the same time that Hurley also runs up to Jack and says the one name not on the manifest was Ethan Rom. The episode ends with Ethan appearing before Claire and Charlie and looking like a threatening little freak. Lost. Boom. Recap done. Was that shorter?
That was much shorter.
Was that snappier and sloppier?
Snappier and sloppier, yeah.
Okay, so Claire...
Justify to me your liking of this episode, please.
I thought a lot of the horror stuff was cool. I thought the crib full of blood was cool.
Oh, really? Oh my lord.
I thought the weird Locke was cool with his eyeballs. I thought...
Yeah, Locke was kind of cool, but he's always cool, so...
I thought the first scene with the psychic was good. I kind of like whatever about the psychic as it goes on. But I think the first scene where he's just like, nope, I'm not gonna do it. I am freaking out. I think like probably would have been better if they had left it like that. What else is cool? I don't know. Yeah, I guess the horror stuff. Ethan Rom is a little freak. Love his little freak face.
Yeah, he is a little freak. That's true. And I remember, just seeing him the first time. It's like, whoa, this dude is a weirdo. Like,
yeah, I love that you said that. That was like your comment.
They did a good job. They actually did a good job planting that ahead of time, you know? Having this dude just be like, so fucking weird.
He's a little weirdo. He's a little freak.
That was good.
Okay, so I could tell that you have different feelings because you said that with your words, and I am a good listener. So let's start with like this first. Let's start with this first like nightmare because I feel like it did not work for you, and that's probably going to continue to be a pattern. So like, what happens in this nightmare? It's like Claire wakes up not pregnant. Well, do you want to do it?
She wakes up not pregnant and is like confused and is walking around, and she asks Locke, who's like doing stuff with cards, right?
Yeah,
he's like flipping cards over and stuff. And he has like one eye. It isn't missing, but it's like all black.
Yeah, one of his eyes is like all black and one is all white, and also he's at like a card table.
Yeah, she asks him like what's going on or what happened or something, and he tells her, you know what happened.
Yeah, something like that. He's like, this was your responsibility.
Yeah, that's right. He says, this was your, and then she keeps stumbling around and sees the crib in there. So, for me, it was, because I am a consumer of media, as soon as she wakes up and the baby is gone, I know that this is a dream.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I think that I could know something was a dream and have it still work for me. This, I just like, it's why the whole episode was boring for me. I didn't care about anything.
Yeah, it seems like a problem.
Yeah, like, she's in a dream. Okay, yeah, I guess weird stuff does happen in dreams, doesn't it? All right, whatever, like, don't actually give a shit at all. And then the same thing kind of happened with the psychic. I agree, the first scene with the psychic was the best by far, where he gets freaked out.
Yeah, like, the first scene with the psychic, like, her friend brings her to the psychic, she's reluctant to see him, and at first, like, he's like, oh... how far along's the baby? She's not visibly pregnant. And it's like, maybe he actually can see stuff. And then he starts getting like silently freaked out and then just like stops doing the reading and is like, I'm sorry, just take your money back. I can't do it.
That was by far the best. Because when she goes back to him and is like, hello again, it's me, the one who scared you before. Will you do my reading now? He's just like, all right.
Yeah, I don't really know what
dumb.
Caused his mind to change.
But even that with that first one, so this is true for all the psychic stuff, which is the bulk of the flashbacks. So it's going to kind of just be true for the flashbacks.
Yeah, it's like half of them, yeah.
I think that there's a way in which you could have some psychic thing happening that would hold my attention and interest me. But I think it's a pretty narrow path, and I'm not even sure how you'd get to it. Just because I think psychic shit is not real.
Right.
And I mean, like, I think that the Locke stuff is also not real, right? Like, it's a fantastical element, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Locke stuff is a more interesting fantastical element to me because it's not taking a real world charlatan bullshittery and just saying, oh, but what if it was real? I think that's kind of what made me so bored with it, is that it wasn't a new take. It wasn't a fresh take. It was a very stale take. It was just taking something that exists in the real world and being like, but what if these people weren't just like on a scale between con artist and entertainer? And that's not an interesting proposition to me at all. So for the entire thing, I was so fucking bored.
Something that this does that I wish it kind of didn't do is it kind of removes the proposition that the island is like a place of exceptionality in terms of like the supernatural, right? Because like it's kind of cool how like weird supernatural stuff is happening there.
Yeah.
But then being like, also it's happening elsewhere. Like, that's the world that this takes place in.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
Is, like, kind of lame. Defangs the island a little bit.
It does.
Yeah, like, I wish that had even been a thing. If they're gonna have this psychic, like, maybe the psychic is a bullshitter, but, like, because it's related, something's related to the island, he gets some actual vision or something. No. Maybe, you know, I don't know. That's just random idea, but
you're totally right. Because even when I was thinking about it, I was trying to think of other times when psychic stuff had worked for me. And it's usually, this isn't a super original idea, but it works, is when you have the charlatan psychic have an actual premonition or something, right? And then get freaked out.
That's like a trope, right?
Yeah, that's a total trope, but it works. And I think that, to your point, that would have been more interesting here, is if it's like, yeah, this dude's just like an entertainer guy, but then this weird thing happens to him, like, because of the island. Like, the island is, like, reaching through him or some shit, right?
Yeah.
That would have been a lot more interesting to me than just, oh, I guess he is actually psychic. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely would have been more interesting. I think that, like, I don't know. I guess I'm just, like, bought in enough to
like roll with it, right? Like you're in enough that you're going for the ride it was taking you on.
Yeah, I'm like, this could have been improved for sure. I guess it's like, I was also just happy to have Claire having an episode and kind of
I don't know.
Yeah, I was just like, this is cool that we're focusing on one of the like tertiary characters who hasn't really done anything.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that if by the end she had like done anything.
She doesn't really do anything, that's true. I agree.
I was thinking about that towards the end of the episode. I was just like, wow, we got a Claire episode, and still there's nothing there.
Right, her story still completely revolves around, like, that she has a baby that she's gonna have, which is, like, not ideal.
Well, it doesn't, how does this characterize her further except ignores medical advice?
Yeah, I guess it, like, furthers some kind of irrationality that she has.
With the psychic stuff and the, like, astrology stuff.
The psychic and the astrology and the ignoring medical device and the, like, ignoring her own thing to, like, stay with her deadbeat boyfriend who got her pregnant. Like, she's, like, talked into that. It also, I think, it establishes that she has a bit of... She, like some other characters, has, like, some trust issues or whatever. Because she, like, is having trouble opening up to Charlie. So, like, I appreciate those little elements of her character. Like, I agree she doesn't really do a lot. But, yeah, I appreciated those things.
For me, just, they were too small. They were not enough. I wanted more for her. I wanted to know who she was as a person more, rather than her experience as a vessel for a baby.
Yeah, it is true, like, her entire thing revolves around that.
Well, that makes sense to a degree, because that's her experience right now, so I'm fine with that, but, like, I would like to see who Claire is informing that experience more.
Totally. I agree. I think it's, like, I don't know, that worked. I think Hurley's funny in this episode.
Hurley's good in this episode, yes.
Yeah. He's, like, going around talking to people as he's, like, collecting their names. And he's, like, he has a part where he, like, talks to Locke. And Locke, like, says some mysterious shit.
It was so funny.
Hurley's just like, so, why were you in Australia? And Locke's like, I was looking for something. And Hurley's like, okay. Did you find it? And then Locke's like, no, it found me. And looks off at the island, and Hurley's just like, and he's like, thanks. Oh, and he like just some random passerby is like, hey, can I talk to you? And then he's like, I know I already talked to you. I just wanted to get away from him.
Yeah, no, Hurley is wonderful in this episode. I do want to say Hurley entertained me greatly in this episode.
Uh-huh.
It was fine for his character. It makes me like Hurley the person less, not the character. But he was going pretty big like cop energy.
He is going cop mode. It's pretty lame.
Yeah. So it makes me think less of him the person. Not less of him as a character, but less of him as a person for sure.
It's also like
I also just with Locke real quick.
Yeah.
I like how Hurley comes at him with this cop energy. Locke is basically just like, who the fuck put you in charge of this shit? And he asks Hurley who's gonna like check up on you or whatever.
Yeah.
And Hurley's like, me.
Yeah.
And then I just like that Locke points out how kind of dumb this is. But then goes along with it and doesn't even fight it. He's like, this is dumb, but I'll allow it, basically.
Yeah, he's kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, he's like, this is dumb and stupid, but I also don't care, so sure.
Yeah, I think it's like, it is weird that Hurley's doing this in the first place.
It's weird. No, yeah, I agree.
Like, why is he collecting everybody's names? Because basically they've had no indication that, like, someone would be not one of the plane crash people, right?
Well, at first, I don't think he was... They weren't doing it to check that until he found the manifest and realized that there was an extra person.
Right.
At first, it was just... you're right that it still made no sense. Because at first, he was just doing a census to see who could have done the bad things. But doing a census does not lead to knowing who did the bad things.
Right. He doesn't, like, ask investigative questions where he's like, where were you last night? Or whatever. Like, as far as I remember.
Yeah, he asks, like, what's your home address?
Yeah, he's just like, hey, what's your name and why were you traveling?
Yeah, they do have a lot of meta stuff where it's like, who are... He's like, I was checking the perimeter with Scott and fucking Keith or some shit, right? And then he's like... And then I realized, who is Scott and Keith? And
yeah, it's like... Yeah, Hurley is like saying the thing that we're thinking, right?
Yeah.
What did you think about the Ethan Rom stuff?
I don't know. I thought he was a weirdo.
What I mean is, like, were you like, oh yeah, he's doing some sus shit, like, immediately?
Like, with the actions he was doing?
No, just like, what was your... Because, like, he shows up throughout the episode, right?
Uh-huh.
And then at the end, it's revealed he's not from amongst the survivors. Did you have any kind of called shot on that? Were you like, this guy seems suspicious? Or were you just like, he's a weirdo?
Yeah, I'm not beyond he's a weirdo, I don't think.
Interesting.
I'm not surprised. It wasn't meant to be at all. But it wasn't like a, Ethan, how could you?
Yeah, it's not like if Charlie had turned out to be evil or something.
Ooh, that would have been cool. Imagine if they were like, Charlie wasn't on the plane. Especially weird because we saw flashbacks with Charlie in them.
Yeah, and he says, I'm about to get on this plane that's going to crash tomorrow.
So yeah, when it was revealed that it was him, I was like, okay, yeah, that checks out. But I didn't have it called or anything, no.
Sure. I just feel like it's so suspicious that his last name is Rom, which is just like, what the fuck? Like, that's not a name.
Yeah, that was funny. Well, it is the name of Quark's brother in DS9, so...
Oh, great. Well, something else. So, like, this is something I never realized before, but, like, I was like, Rom, that's a weird name. Also, I know this guy is suspicious. Like, I remembered that. So I was like...
I wonder if Ethan Rom, like, spells something.
It does.
Does it spell, I'm a bad guy?
It's spelled... Yeah, I mean, basically.
What's it spell?
It says, other man.
Ooh. That makes sense.
Yeah.
He's just some other guy.
So it's kind of a little thing. It's a little thing.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, they cast the Ethan actor.
Dude's a weirdo.
Yeah, you look at him and you're just like, he exudes weirdo energy.
Dude is a weirdo, yeah.
But I guess that's interesting because it kind of worked to, like, as not quite a red herring, but like to allay your suspicions, just because you were like, yeah, this guy just seems weird, but not necessarily like he seems like he might have done some kind of weird baby related thing.
Not necessarily shifty, just strange man.
Yeah, so that's neat.
Guess what? I just shot a bear. Thought it was cool.
What else happened? I like the little Hurley Sawyer scene.
Yeah, so did I. I loved Sawyer's sunglasses.
Yes. Honestly, when Sawyer showed up, I kind of love Sawyer. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
No, it was
Like-
great. I agree. Sawyer, great.
Yeah, I'm like bought in. He's like, he's great.
He called Hurley, what did he call him this time? The Stay Puft Marshmallow, right? He called him Stay Puft.
Something like that.
Yeah, which
And like,
is mean, but
yeah, he just like. Also, it's interesting that Hurley convinces him to give the manifest because he just goes up to Sawyer and is just like, hey, man,
holy shit,
here's what I'm going to say. Just give me the manifest because, like, you could use the points.
Yeah.
And Sawyer's like, yep, sounds good, basically. Like,
honest, this is what I was talking about so many episodes ago with Kate treating Sawyer like he was an asshole and then him proving her right.
Yeah.
I feel like if you just go to Sawyer and you're like, hey, reasonable thing, he's not always going to go along with it, but he's also not going to go out of his way to be a dick for no reason. Like, if he can profit from it, maybe he'll try to get something out of you for it. But I don't think he's just a malicious character here.
Yeah. He just, like, does the thing.
Yeah. I just loved his sunglasses. He's wearing kind of, like, how would you describe the sunglasses? Girly?
They're 60s, like, polka dot, like, what, you know, women's mod glasses.
Yeah.
Kinda.
And I just love that, like, actually, it speaks to his character, I think, and like it. I really think it was great because this is the dude who is calling Jack a metro.
Uh-huh.
And I think it does show that for all of the racist, bigoted, misogynistic stuff he says, I'm not saying he is none of that, but mostly when he's saying it to instigate and to, like, stir up shit and be offensive rather than actually being those things.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean he can't be those things.
Right. He is simultaneously those things, and his reason for acting like bigoted and shit and saying racist things is that.
I like seeing the character who calls somebody else a metro wearing those fucking women's sunglasses. It was somehow satisfying to me in a characterful way.
Totally.
It's like, yeah, he's chilling out with his women's sunglasses. Fuck
He's
it.
just vibing.
Yeah. No, he was awesome. He only got one scene, but I loved it.
Yeah, he had like a little scene, and it was great. Yeah, Hurley is good in this episode.
All of Hurley's interactions with the survivors brought back to me his weird interactions right after he saw Kate's mugshot with Kate.
Uh-huh.
That's what they all felt like to me almost, where he's just like super awkward with everybody.
He is very awkward with everyone. He's like motivated to do this thing.
He's just like, hey, so where are you from? And everybody's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, everybody is just like, this is strange. But it's like, it's good. I mean, he is doing cop shit.
No, it was funny.
But he's funny. Yeah. I'm looking through this episode. This is a weird one because there's kind of only one. I mean, there's multiple like plot threads, but there's not like a complete like B plot where it's kind of unrelated or whatever.
I mean, I guess, because the Hurley stuff is related, I guess.
Yeah, like it like splits off from and then reconverges with the main plot with Claire.
I would say that's the B plot, though, is the Hurley stuff.
What do you think about the Charlie Claire stuff throughout this episode? They have a lot of screen time together.
I like Charlie a lot. That's what I think about it. Claire bored me a lot. I think that this was 2004. I don't know what it would look like if the show was made today, but people's immediate reaction to talk about stress and I don't even know if I want to call it mental health related stuff.
Uh-huh.
Is very strange. Like, Claire is very much like, I'm not crazy. This happened. I'm not crazy. And even like Charlie is like, no, this happened. This thing that she thinks happened definitely happened. And I think it turns out that it did happen. And Jack is the one who they're all mad at because he's in a very gentle way just saying, hey, we're in a very stressful situation. You're pregnant. Very, wacky stuff goes on when you're pregnant. Let's consider that this might have been stress-related hallucinations, vivid nightmares, like all this stuff.
I do find it weird that Jack is the only one with that position, because, like, that seems like the obvious one. Like, she just had a nightmare the previous night.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it might have been, I mean, I guess the way the plot moves, they need other, well, not really. Like, I think it might have been better if, like, Charlie was the only person who believed
wouldn't
her.
it? Her and Charlie.
Yeah.
And then Hurley, I mean, I guess then Hurley can't go do his thing because he wouldn't be motivated to.
Yeah, but he could also just, like, be doing shit for a different reason. Like, maybe...
Yeah, he could just do it because he...
converges on it. I don't know.
He has that talk with Jack just about, like, we don't even know these people. Like, you don't need him to believe Claire to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I agree that it would have been more interesting just because then I think it's more interesting to have everybody not against, but in disagreement with Claire and Charlie than it is to have everybody disagreeing with Jack. Especially because it turns out that Claire and Charlie, I think, will be correct. So it's more interesting to have people take the counter argument or counter position to the one that ends up being correct.
Right. It, like, creates more stuff.
Yeah.
Were you, like... I'm curious because, like, this is one of those things where it's impossible for me to know how I would feel first watching it. But, like, what was your feeling? Were you like, oh, yeah, obviously there was someone doing something? Or were you like, no, it was just a dream? Or were you like, it could be either way? I don't know.
I think I didn't really take a position because I felt like it wasn't worth taking a personal position when it could easily have gone either way.
Sure, it wasn't like getting you invested in that mystery enough.
No, yeah, which is why I was bored.
Yeah, because like the whole episode revolves around that, basically.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was strange that like I said, Jack says this reasonable thing and everybody's like, you monster.
Yeah.
I thought that was really weird.
I mean, I completely agree. It's fucking weird that everybody is like, how dare you say that? And what's also weird is people are like, you think she's making it up? And Jack isn't like, no. Because like, his position surely wouldn't be, she's making it up. His position would be, no, she had another nightmare and she believes it's real. Like,
I guess he never says the words, no, I am not saying that she is deceiving us on purpose. But I do think that he communicates that. For me, at least, I got that he communicated like, no, I don't think she's making it up. I just think she had an experience which was not real or whatever.
Totes.
I didn't trip on that with Jack at all. I thought Jack was good in this episode. Actually, I'm growing more and more to like Jack and think he's cool.
Yeah, his character works.
He had a good moment, I actually thought. It was a very, very small line, but I thought it really worked for his character.
Uh-huh.
It's when he's talking to Claire about her sleepwalking. She asks, how would I know? And he said, it'll get back to you. And then he talks about how he had an ex who told him he talked in his sleep. And Claire asks what he said in his sleep. And he says that he doesn't know because she didn't like it. Like the ex didn't like it and wouldn't tell him. I think that's really cool for Jack's character. Because he's so buckled down and, like, repressed in a way.
Uh-huh.
That I think it is cool and makes sense that in his sleep he might say some fucked up shit.
Yeah, that is interesting.
That, like, that's how that stuff would escape, is through sleep talking.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that interpretation, that it's, like, it's actually a bit more of a revealing story than he even realizes.
Yeah, and I like that it was just slipped in, that it wasn't like, here is this Jack reveal about his character. It was just so smooth.
For sure. Nice little dialogue. Good little job.
Yeah, it was great. On the other hand, the music was not nice and subtle. It continues to be wildly over the top and shit.
I knew you were going to complain about the music because, like, even I was noticing the music cues in this episode. They, go really hard a lot of the time.
They go so hard.
There is music that that's trying to get you to cry when, like, Claire's shitty boyfriend is like, we should keep the baby.
It's so bad.
Yeah, I thought that was, like, pretty silly. Like, that was, like, not gonna land with a lot of emotionality. So it was weird to try and get the music to try to do that. But I think that's, at this point, that's just the decision this creative team has made. It's like, we're just putting a bunch of, the music, it's just gonna tell you how to feel. That's just how it's gonna work.
No, I agree, which is why I'm probably gonna mention it every episode, but I don't need to reiterate every episode. I'm just gonna say the music continues to suck.
Yeah, this one is an episode where I definitely did notice it in a negative way.
Yeah, imagine having that experience except every episode ever.
Yeah, there are like I watching certain movies or shows, that's something that I definitely like notice, but it's fairly rare unless I'm like, wow, the music is fucking terrible.
We've talked about this before. Now we're talking about it way longer than I thought we would. But
Yeah.
and we have talked about this before, but it's because this show puts the music on hard and heavy without getting you there first. It's fine to have that music go that hard and to push like that, but you have to be there so that the music is accompanying how you feel and not giving you road signs on how to get there.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What the fuck else happens? Charlie and Claire, their stuff.
Claire, when she is either imagining or actually getting stabbed in the tum-tum, screams, "Somebody's trying to hurt me!" Which I thought was a really funny thing to scream when you're woken up in the middle of the night with somebody trying to stab you. To scream, "Somebody's trying to hurt me!"
That is kind of funny.
That doesn't happen. That's not right. That's right?
Yeah, very, like, deliberately phrased.
Yeah, somebody is trying to hurt me.
Not just like, oh god, get away from me. Or like,
or even
a knife.
Somebody's hurting me, but somebody is trying to hurt me. I don't know. Yeah. It's just like...
somebody is making moves towards harming me, potentially.
Yeah, like, that really stuck out to me as like a piece of bad writing that like had no right to be bad because it's so easy to write that dialogue.
Yeah, that's a weird one. That is a weird one.
Yeah.
I did not notice because it's kind of minor, but that it's definitely kind of awkward.
It's just one of those where it's like, how do you fuck this up? This is so easy. Like, this is baseline level shit. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. Whatevs. Agreed. Okay, what else?
Let's see. The Charlie had a brief mention of his addict lines were not good.
Yeah,
I thought they drew attention to something which we had already commented on how it wasn't good, and we'd kind of agreed, you and I, to like be like, okay, that's not good, but fuck it, I guess this is where we're going, so let's move on from this. But then they like drew attention to how not good it is. Yeah,
he's like, it's like really awkward. It's just really awkward the way it works. It just really points out, it's Charlie, the idea that Charlie's like, yeah, I did it. Drugs are... I'm no longer an addict or whatever.
Yeah, he literally says, it slips out something about, I don't know, drugs or something. It slips out to Claire from him that he's an addict, and he says, I'm an addict. And then he immediately goes, I was an addict. I'm clean now.
Yeah.
Which is like, I don't know, maybe that is how Charlie understands his experience, but
yeah,
it just wasn't, you're right, it was weird. It was just bad and weird, right? Like, to hear him say that.
Totally. Like, I can believe that he might frame it himself.
Yeah.
Frame it to himself that way. It's just weird. It's just the same thing we previously talked about where, like, it's as if once he got through withdrawals, he was just fine. Like, that was just it. Like, his recovery was complete or whatever. He wasn't, like... It's not like, oh, shit, he's in, like, the most stressful situation of his life, and he's not having any thoughts about, like, using or whatever. It's like...
no, he's good whatever. Now.
Yeah, he's just, it's just fine.
It was funny to me just because it brought attention to that thing that we'd been willing to let lie in the past, and it just won't let it lie in the past. It was like, nope, remember how we did that bad? Remember? It's bad. And it was just like, oh, couldn't you just left that be so we could forget about it? But no, you can't.
I also wonder if, like, because Claire's reaction, she doesn't say anything, but she seems very... not only judgy, but sort of, like, fearful, almost.
She immediately trusts him less. Yeah.
Which, like, that is fine if someone's gonna have that character trait. Like, they can suck in that way. But what's weird to me is, like, did it feel like that's the expectation that the writers expected us to have about, like, people who use drugs?
I think it did, and that's why it felt so weird and dumb and bad. Yeah.
Yeah, like, if...
Charlie's trying to convince her, like, I can take care of you. We don't need to go, Jack. I don't want to leave you here alone. I can help you with this baby thing. And then it comes out, and she's like, no, get the fuck. Go get Jack. Fuck you.
Yeah. Yes, that is how it lines up, like, in terms of
it doesn't feel... I don't know. Maybe it's just, different. You're right. It feels like the writers expect me as the viewer to share her reaction, which I don't.
Yeah.
And it feels like a weird friction there.
I agree, totally. Yeah, that makes me think about the weird people's reaction about like the anxiety, like nightmare, like Jack's position on it, the mental health
Yeah.
stuff, and like it being, I don't know. Yeah, I just wonder how much that's related
Is
to
it
like,
possible that the writers of Lost, I guess at this point mainly Mr. Lindell-Dix,
uh-huh.
are not like the most enlightened and educated people?
Is that possible?
Is that possible? Yeah.
Wow. Well, we can only speculate.
Okay, you liked the flashbacks, right? Broadly.
Broadly, yeah. I
Okay.
think it's yeah, sure. Yeah.
How did you feel about the pen scene?
I thought that similar to the psychic stuff. Well, basically I think it's kind of implying that there's like a supernatural destiny for her to go to the island.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's recap the pen scene actually, because
Yeah, oh yeah.
I forgot
haven't
we need to be
recapped it.
doing that. Yeah.
Yes. Tell me about the pen scene.
So she's gonna sign her baby away, basically, the adoption paperwork, and the pen doesn't work. And then the lawyer pulls out a pen and gives it to her from his suit jacket pocket, which, first of all, I don't believe the pen that he gives her from his suit a lawyer would ever have in their suit, because it's big and fat and fancy looking, and I like to believe that a lawyer in their suit to write with would have a very functional pen, and not an ostentatious, ugly pen.
No, I buy a lawyer
Yeah?
having an
Okay.
ostentatious pen. They gotta like make a statement when they write shit, right?
Anyway, then that pen also is dry and not working, and then the couple looking to adopt gives her a pen, and it also doesn't work, and then she's like, I can't do this, and leaves. So that's the pen scene.
Yeah, she gets multiple pens that fail to write as she tries to sign her name, and then she gets a third pen that might work, but then she decides, nah, I can't, and then leaves. Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying it just makes it seem like there's other magical things going on in the world other than the island.
Yeah, and again, it's like, I wish that were not the case.
Yeah, I want the island to be our magical little weird place in the midst of our boring everyday world.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's cool when, for instance, like Locke, I like that certain characters, the narratives or the stories they were going through before, the journeys they were on, in some way being on the island actually like relates to them. Like Locke has this thing where he's like gonna do a walkabout, he's reaching his destiny, and then he ends up on the island, and like his interpretation is that like, oh, the island is my destiny or whatever, right? Whatever his interpretation is. Or like Jack, like he was searching for his father, and now he thought he had finished that search, but actually he hasn't, right? Because his father's body has mysteriously disappeared and he's seeing him on the island or whatever. Like, I like that concept that like when characters get to the island, something about their internal journey kind of becomes externalized. I don't like the idea that like they were brought to the island to continue their personal journey specifically by some like supernatural force or something.
Yeah, I did not like the pen scene.
Were you just like, this is stupid, or what was your...
That is exactly what I was like. I didn't go through it all on my head, but you talking about all that is, if I dig deeper, my problem with it. But yeah, I was just like, this is dumb. The pen don't work. This is stupid. Fucking okay, bullshit. Yeah, I was just like, this is just dumb.
I think the reason for me, I don't think the scene works. And in fact, I think like a lot of the scenes in the flashbacks, I don't think are that good in this episode. But I think like I'm interested in the idea of Claire like going back and forth on what to do about the child. And that she's like, I'm going to adopt my baby out. Actually, I'm not. Actually, maybe I will. But, you know? I like that she's waffling on that. I think that's like compelling.
I'm okay with that. I just want it to be internally driven rather than externally driven by the psychic. I want it to be her struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Not like that's why I was bored and why I didn't think this episode was very good for Claire, because so much of it is things happening to her and stuff rather than her making choices of her own. Like even to finally not sign it away, she had to have the fucking, what's the word? Psychic call her like every night for like 4 months or something, which apparently
he's
she
been
didn't
like
call the cops on her.
Repeatedly. Yeah.
And then still didn't do it, and then went, and the pens didn't work and stuff. And it's just like, if there is some outside force pushing her in a direction, it took a lot of pushing. I don't know. I just, wanted it to just be more of an internal struggle that she is having.
Yeah.
On her own.
I totally agree with that. And that she is just kind of like getting pushed into decisions by various, like, it would
like
she been...
didn't want to have the baby. She got pushed into it by her shitty boyfriend.
Yeah. And then particularly the pen thing removes the decision from her. Like if she had actively decided, it's also weird because she like actively decides not to adopt. Because the psychic has been like, you need to raise this child yourself. Because like, mystery.
Because it'll be Hitler otherwise.
Really but maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, yeah, you need to raise the child yourself. And then she's like, nah, I'm gonna adopt it out. And the psychic keeps calling her and is like, Claire, I figured out this whole your baby maybe is Hitler thing. And then she's like, stop fucking calling me. She does this adoption thing, and like the pen scene happens, and she like can't adopt. And then she like, after the pen fails multiple times, she decides, okay, actually, I'm gonna keep the baby and hear the psychic out.
Yeah, she decides to go back to the psychic, and then when he says, I found somebody to adopt it, she decides to go,
she
okay.
does that. Yes.
It's so
which
stupid.
is pretty lame. Like,
it's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Yeah, that is fucking lame. Like, I wish it was, like, I'm fine
What does she do? What does she do in this fucking episode?
Yeah, she doesn't really do much. She
Except
walks away
to be
from Jack.
From the doctor when she's about to give birth. That's the one thing she fucking does is tell the doctor to go fuck himself.
She
this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm
she's
saying.
having nightmares. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I agree. She basically has no agency. Yeah, and it doesn't feel like that's the point of her character.
No,
like,
that's,
or of the
that's
story
interesting too. If the point is you find yourself, I can think of multiple characters in books that I've read where that is their story, is they feel like they have no agency.
Yeah.
And that can mean multiple things. That can be an excuse for shitty actions you take, right? That you feel like you have no agency and you're pushed into it. It can be other stuff. It can be interesting. But you're right, and that wasn't the point of her story. That could be a really cool, interesting, tragic story for her to feel like she is powerless and then maybe find some sort of power on the island for herself or something, right? But
sure, yeah.
That's not what they're telling. I don't know what they're telling.
Yeah, because they don't really make any points. It does not seem to be super like a focus of the story that she does not have agency over what's like happening to her, right?
I just found it very boring. Very boring.
Yeah, I agree with that stuff for sure. I guess I'm like, yeah, enough of the mysteries of like the island stuff. I'm like, I want to see what's going on with Ethan Rom. At the end, Saeed gets back and he's like, oh, we're not alone. And it's like, oh, shit, like what happened with Saeed? We heard him hearing voices and now he's showing up and whatever.
I do wish that when I saw Saeed, I was a little bit disappointed just because I'd said it going into the Saeed episode before I knew it would be a Saeed episode.
Uh-huh. I
like when you have a character disappear for a while and come back different, which Saeed has come back different and knowing something else or whatever. But I like it when they're gone they're out of our mind for a while too.
Yeah, you
just absent.
Prefer like the slow roll situation.
Yeah, so I was really hoping that we would at least get one episode in which Saeed was just gone. And we don't see him even as an audience at all.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, that's nearly this episode. They
I know,
just pull him in for the end.
Yeah, but I want it to be a whole fucking week in 2004 where you don't talk about or think about Saeed. And then when he comes back, you're like, oh shit, where's this guy been? That's right. Like, that is so much cooler to me.
Sure. Yeah.
But no, he comes back, his thing happens, he's like, it coincides with Hurley and Hurley's revelation. The thing is, like, with Saeed, I don't think you need Saeed's revelation when you have Hurley's revelation.
You could have just had Hurley's. Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, why do we get these at the
same time? They don't complement each other. They're just the same.
Like, the Saeed one, he's like, we're not alone, and you're like, oh shit, who could it be? And then, like, before you can finish the thought of, like, who might the suspicious person be? Hurley's like, I figured it out.
Yeah, I like when things all come together at the same time and fit different pieces together like a little puzzle, right?
Yeah.
This was not that. This was just, it was redundant information. Not even redundant necessarily, so much as just, they didn't inform each other. Nothing was like, oh, now this makes sense.
Like, one thing they could have done, since we like doing suggestions, and that's just how we roll, is like, if Saeed had showed up, like, if he's gonna show up in this episode, like, if he had shown up earlier and said the same thing, and then he was just out for the rest of the episode, and then, like...
And then there's suspicions, and there's questions,
it's an escalation of stakes earlier on, where you're like, oh, shit, like, what do you mean? Is there someone? Blah, blah, blah. Which, you're already asking those questions, but,
And then Hurley can get all stressed, because now what he's doing is actually really fucking important.
Right, yeah. And then, like, when he figures it out, it's actually, like, revealing that mystery. And also, that could have been cool if they set it up as, like, no one believes Claire at first, or maybe just Charlie does.
Yeah,
and then when Saeed shows up, then more people start believing it, and there's, like, more conflict generated there.
Yeah, it would have been a whole lot better.
Yeah. Or just, like, don't have Saeed show up.
I just wanted him gone to come back later and be more kind of mysterious and whatever, but that's fine.
Yeah. And then Ethan Romm's there being a freak at the end.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see what happens with that. You know, I'm bought in there.
Yeah, I agree. Is there anything else we want to talk about? Do we want to kind of move into closing thoughts?
Well, I can hit you with one thing, which you're going to hate me for.
Okay.
Look, maybe I should just be happy that we got through the episode without talking about Kate. Because she's like she's barely in the episode.
Yeah, that part was great.
I just feel like some obligation to mention Kate to see if you had anything additional to add, or if you're just like, it was cool that she was mostly not here, except for like one scene, I guess.
Kate is and remains boring and dumb and having no character, and anybody interacting with her, their character is made worse for that interaction.
Nice. All right.
That's what I have to say.
About sums it up.
Also, there's no Charlie watch this week.
Or Michael watch. Why are you getting Michael and Charlie's names?
It's just the name. It's not even that the people, I don't get the people confused. It's just the name.
No,
he looks like a Charlie
specifically
to me.
Those two names.
Yeah, there was no Michael watch this week. He had
he wasn't in it
a
at
couple
all.
lines. No, he had some reaction shots that were kind of funny where his face is just like, oh no. And then he asks Claire, like, did you see him? And that's it. So nothing on him.
Yeah. Sun and Jin also just not in the episode.
Yeah, I feel like we got a couple reaction shots of them too, but no lines. So yeah, you want to move into closing thoughts on the ep?
Closing thoughts.
Does anybody know this guy?
Just pull the trigger.
No way, no.
Well, I like that we had this conversation, and I basically agree with all of your criticisms of the episode. I overall still enjoyed it. But yeah, I do agree, basically. There's a lot more they could have done differently, either to, improve kind of the stories they were trying to tell, or just, to tell a story that was more, compelling. Or that was more interesting to me, you know?
I thought the last, 90 seconds were really cool.
The Saeed running in and Hurley,
and
that
then,
little moment.
Yeah, and then you see Ethan there. That was... that, and... It was cool, and it makes me... So, I thought this episode sucked.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not... The last time we saw an episode that I thought was terrible.
Which one was that?
I believe that one was the one that I called, perhaps the worst episode of TV I'd seen in the past, 15
you
years.
Were I would stop watching Lost if I had been watching.
Yeah. So after watching that one, I was like, oh no, what are we going to get next week? After watching this one, I don't feel that way. I feel like this episode sucked, but I'm still... looking forward and upbeat about what we might get in the future, even though this one sucked.
Yeah, I feel like I'm looking forward to next week, for sure.
I have one question for you. When does Locke lose his eye? When does that happen?
What do you mean? What?
I mean, Locke is 100% losing his eye. I think it's his right eye that he's going to lose.
Why do you
Is he not 100% losing his eye?
Well, in the dream, he has a white eye and a black eye.
I'm just saying, that black eye he's got, he's always squinting like a motherfucker in a way that I think it's his right eye, is like almost fully closed and gone. He also had a scar or cut, not a scar, but a cut over that eye in a very deliberate way. I'm just saying, I think that motherfucker losing an eye.
All right. Prediction call.
And I think the island, he told Charlie, you got to give the island something. I think he's giving the island that fucking eyeball. I think he might be getting some wisdom out of it. I'm not sure, but
oh shit,
he's definitely losing that eyeball at some point.
We're getting a lot of predictions here.
Well, I mean,
double
it's really
prediction.
just one.
It's a 1.5.
Yeah, 1.5. We'll give it a 1.5.
Yeah.
Does that even count as a prediction when it's something that's just going to happen?
Yeah, because you don't know what's going to happen.
I feel like I know it's going to happen.
That's just you putting a lot of money on that one prediction.
Okay.
Well, all in all, weird episode, but we fucking did it.
Yeah, this
Anything
one
else?
was a ride.
Yeah, it was all over the place.
It really was. I don't think I've got anything else, unless, I don't know, you got anything else?
Do I have anything? Nah, that's it. Oh, next week, we're watching Season 1, Episode 11, All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues.
No way.
That's the name of the episode.
No shot.
Which is incredible, IMO.
No, actually it is. Who is it that we're getting?
I might let it be a...
Huh.
Do you want it to be a surprise?
No.
Or do you want...
I mean, that's why I'm asking you.
How about if I say it is a character we've already had a flashback for?
Ooh.
Who do you think it is?
A character we've already had a flashback for. Kate. No. Yes? No. Tell me. Who?
Jack.
Okay. I'm a little bit worried, but we'll see. I like Jack. I think his character is getting good stuff. I actually like him as a character. I think he's an interesting character. A somewhat complex character. I am afraid that his flashbacks will be fucking stupid. That's all.
Oh, jeez. Well, we'll find out. Well, this was the podcast. You can email us at what's our email address?
It's the name of our podcast.
The Long Lost Podcast at gmail.com. And you can follow our socials at The Long Lost Pod. Yeah, we killed it. We killed it this week.
See you next week. What went so wacky on that?